Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, my addiction to Kawandi quilting is still going strong, and I've just nearly finished another one, and I'm going to start on a new project, so I thought I'd come back and show you that. But also it occurred to me that I don't think I ever kind of showed how I finished the quilts off. I showed how to do the fuller, the little triangles at the corners, but not the sort of finishing of the actual quilting part. So yeah, this was the very first one I did actually, or the first one I did properly. So here's my fuller at the corners. They're supposed to look like flowers, like blossoming. This was actually the first attempt I made, but that was before I realised I was doing it wrong. But you know, the effect is the same. I've also made little fabric baskets like this one, so you just like turn the top over, and yeah, and they're really handy for keeping things in. And I like that, like with this, let's go to the desk, it's easier to show you on the desk. So like with this one, I've got reclaimed Indian fabrics on the outside and African prints on the inside, which is great because the city people are African origin but in India, so I love like having this colourful inside. And these bags that I've been making are so handy for storing other fabric scraps in and things, projects that I'm working from, things like that. So I started this other one. I'm going to make another big fabric bag like that. I've been using these amazing, some of the amazing scraps that Jackie sent me, Jackie Parry. So this is what I've got. What I did was I went through the whole bag that she sent me and sort of split them into groups that I thought would go together, just to make it a little bit less mind-blowing. So these are what I've got left of what I put aside for this bag. And what I'm going to do is, I made for Gabby. Hello Gabby, it's a very dear friend of mine here on YouTube, Gabby Sheep Dolls. I made her like an art journal wrap, where you can put your art journal or sketchbook in one side and pencils and things in the other, and kind of roll it all up and tie it up to take out with you, or take away on holiday, or just take downstairs to do a bit of sketching. I quite fancy having one of those myself. And I think the idea would work quite well for putting knitting needles or crochet needles in as well, that kind of thing. So I'm going to start one of those in a minute, but I just thought before I show how I'm going to start on the journal wrap, I might as well show you how I finished one of these. Because yeah, I don't think I've ever done that. So one of the great things about doing this style of quilting is there's lots of great things about it. There's no measuring to fit. I've been using one of my husband's old sweatshirts for whatting in this one, and I'm gonna do that for for my journal wrap as well. But after that, there's no measuring at all. You just need a little pair of scissors. You don't even need a big pair of scissors because you can tear the pieces, just snip, and you need whatever thread, and you need a needle. My needle's stuck in here still, I think, so I don't lose my place. I must say I preferred the look of this when I stitched it with this thread, so the stitching was really, really obvious. It looks more like the authentic city quilts that you see. So this time I've been using this quilting thread, which is really nice to use. I just don't think it looks so pretty. This is one of the lovely fabrics that Jackie sent, and it looks fine on that, but where I've used it on this plain yellow, it's just not so, interesting. So I've got a whole drawer full of embroidery flosses to use up, so I'm going to start using them for this. So I've got my one big pair of scissors for when I'm cutting the backing piece in a minute. It's so nice to go through. Once you've got to this stage, you haven't got to think about adding wadding and backing and doing a border and stuff. It's just ready to go. So if you do it in Jackie has been making blocks. I think she's going to do 18 blocks altogether to make a big quilt with. So she's just been doing them in blocks like this. She uses a fat quarter apparently, and once she's made all her blocks, she can just stitch them together and she's got a quilt. You could still add a border and stuff, but you don't really need to. So once I've kind of finished everything, you start around, I'll show this in a minute, but you do all the edges first, and then you gradually work in a spiral in towards the middle, and you add more patches of fabric as you go, turning all the edges under. But sometimes you end up with little bits where, like here, where this one, let's bring this down a little bit. Can you see there? I've still got a raw edge showing here. A bit of a gap there. So that is where I would take a little extra patch of fabric. That's not big enough. I might use that one, or I might use, I feel like that one looks better there. So with this, I think they call these Tikli. And what you would do with this is just, rather than add it in the same as you do all the others, you would turn all of the edges under. You don't have to press it or pin, you don't need pins, nothing, you just finger press it and patch it on. It goes a bit wonky, I don't really care. There we go, and you just add this one over the top again with the same running stitches you've used everywhere else. And I've realised there doing that that's not going to be enough to cover. I need a long piece, but I could even put in a long piece like that, or a piece of ribbon or something. I might put that long piece, actually. I might see if I can use this, that's quite pretty. So so like with this one, this is the second piece for this bag. I've stuck my needle in there so I don't forget where I got to in the spiral. See here, there's a bit where I might think about putting a little extra patch over, a little tickly over there to finish it off, because I just feel like that's a bit, or I might just put some more stitches down there. I could even add some decorative stitches if I want. That's not traditional, but you know, it's my quilt. So are there any other bits where I'd want to add? You could just, you know, you can just add a couple extra bits where you just feel like it wants a pop of colour. If you think, oh, I've got all pink over there and I haven't got any pink here, I could just pop a bit of, I've tried to be reasonably mindful of that as I've gone along, but you know, I don't think about it too hard while I'm working on it. It's so, that's the thing, you don't have to. It's one of the things I love about it. You can see where as you get towards the middle, sometimes I find that this happens, you get this bunching up of the wadding. Sometimes it's worse than that, of whatever you're using to line it with. That starts to bunch up, but it sort of flattens out if you just keep stitching over it. And here you can see that this sometimes happens to me. I don't know about anybody else, but I get in a little bit of a, oh, I don't know where to, that is a raw edge there. I can't turn it under now because it'll be, take that needle out, it will probably be rucked up there if I turn it under. I don't think that's going to work, so I can just stitch it flat like that and then add a little extra patch over here afterwards if I want to. I'm gonna end up needing one more sort of main patch there. I won't put that in until I get to the point where, yeah, I can do a couple more rows before I get to the point where I've got to add it. So yes, I will end up with one more patch being needed there. And then I'm going to end up with, I thought these two were going to meet, but they're not. I'm going to end up with a frayed edge there. So again, I need a piece that's going to cover that, and I want to cover that. So I'll end up putting a couple extra pieces over this, and maybe here as well, just because that is going to annoy me. But it did occur to me, you could put all sorts in here. You could use scraps of ribbon, and we could get really creative. You could use bits of zip and all sorts, couldn't you? But, if you're watching this and this is the first one of these videos you've seen, check out the playlist. I think I called it my Kawandi adventure. I called it something to do with Kawandi. The Kawandi journey, maybe. The Kawandi playlist on my channel. So you can see right from the beginning, and right from the very beginning it's just so easy to do. And I'm probably still breaking some rules and things, but you know, end of the day, yeah, it is my quilt. So you can see where as you're going along you just tuck the edges under. Don't need to pin. I mean you could pin if you found it easier, but I haven't found I need to. Keep it simple. I'm not going to worry about that raw edge there. I will cover that after, I think. That's what I'll do, is I'll try turning it under. If it doesn't work, I can still add the patch, can't I? If I go like that, it might work. This is where I finish my last lot of stitching. What I tend to do is I finish a stitch in there, and then I hide that. I want to do a double stitch at the end, but I hide that underneath the next patch like that. And then when I come in to add the new stitch, the new thread, I'll sort of wiggle it under the fabric here, wiggle it under the fabric there, just to lose the end. This is just ways that I've found of doing it. I don't know what the proper way is. There you go. So I'm just losing the end under there. Do a little double stitch to secure it. And pop the patch down and just carry on. There we go. Yeah, I quite like the idea of using the different coloured embroidery threads now as well. So I'm turning the corner now. So this is where I need to decide, am I going to stitch that down flat, in which case I'm going to stitch over it on this row, or am I going to try turning it under? I'm going to try turning it under. It's not usually this fiddly, but sometimes you just get to bits like this where it is, so you know, that's why I thought I'd show you this bit now, because this is the most difficult part I've found of this process, where sometimes this seems to happen, and but it's not the end of the world. There we go. So now I'm just going to hold all of that together. As I say, you could use a pin if you wanted to. And several viewers advised me to try really hard to use a thimble, but I just can't get on with it. I have developed a little bit of a callus on those two fingers, and if I've been sewing for a lot of time I get kind of an ache here from pushing on the needle, but I don't think a thimble would help that. I believe somebody mentioned that the city women use like a stuffed roll of fabric to help them push the needles through, but they use quite a big needle of very thick thread and quite a thick amount of wadding in between, so you know, I'm not going through that much of a thickness. So I've managed to turn that edge under. Now I've got to turn this edge as I go, and I've got a bit too much, you can see this is too much of a gap here now, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'll do my best to bring it down to the right sort of level, but yeah, that's okay. End of the day, if I'm not happy with it, I've still got the option to add a patch on. Turn that edge under as I go. A couple of times when I did try using pins, when I had an awkward bit like that, I just found that I kept pricking myself with the pins and the whole thing was just too much of a palaver. So in the end I found it's easier just to do it this way. There we go, come to the corner again. Well, this is quite a nice long easy stretch along here now. So the office will be quite quick. And then when I get to here I'm just going to have to stitch over this sort of frayed edge and sort out a patch for this later. It's all going to be quite straightforward now till I come round to here again. So I'll keep going to here, and when I come to add in this patch in, I'll come back. Here's where I've worked my way round, and I've come back to this point again where I started, and I've nearly run out of thread, so I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to finish the thread here so that I can hide the end underneath the top layer. So I'll just go down here and just do a little stitch there to hold it, and then start my new thread. Or sometimes what I do is I just go to where I'm going to turn the corner, so there's my stitch, my line of stitching going there, so when I come up to here I'll just finish my double stitch there and then start a new double stitch there. That works quite well as well. Just depends on how it works out and where the joins are really. So I'm just going to again hide my, like I did before, just wiggling my needle between the layers of fabric, so at the end will be lost on the inside where I can't see it, and then just do another double stitch to start. Okay, time to turn the corner again. I've only been sat here for 5 minutes. It's such a quick easy process. You haven't got to concentrate too hard, so you can easily be binge watching a bit of something on the telly or whatever as well. You know, you haven't got to pay it too much attention. Many of us are the same. It's quite difficult to just sit and watch the telly and not have anything else to do, isn't it? I think a lot of us who like crafty things, we like to have something a bit of knitting in our laps or a bit of sewing rather than just sit and watch the telly. I just find that really difficult. It doesn't work so well if it's something with subtitles. Okay, again I'm going to carry on working round, and I won't come back now until it's time to add my patch in the middle. I've come to the last little hole in the middle, so I need to decide what fabric I'm going to put over that last little piece. These fabrics have been amazing. These are all the ones that not all these are all these fabrics are just a few of the scraps that were in the package that Jackie sent me. It was brilliant. And I've really enjoyed going through them all because they're such a lovely mixture. I love all these ones with the words on like these. And this fabric, there's loads of it, and you can cut out different parts so it shows different words and things. I quite like the idea of having "Be Who You Are" as a sort of strip along there to cover up that part. I think maybe I just quite like another bit of yellow there. It's quite sunshiny. And then it could kind of overlap with that. It's almost like collaging at this point. It's just sort of, I don't think I want to, I've decided I quite like the quirky shape of that, so I'm just going to cheat and put another little line of stitching down there just to stop this coming up, because that would annoy me, and also it's not quite caught the end, so it would sort of come undone. And then I just would like to, I loved all this, like there's the animal print here and the flowers and these quirky things like these llamas. I loved these ones with the hairspray. Have I got any on this one? These cartoon kind of images. Love those. But yeah, I just wanted to use up this last little bit of animal print, so I might just pop some of that kind of, maybe that could just go there. I love this, that's the last little piece of that as well. I thought about putting it there. No, I can just keep it and use it for something else. I don't have to use it. As long as I pick something to cover that middle square and I stitch that down, I don't really need to do anything else. I'm now just adding them just because I just think they look nice. So I think what I'll do is I'll keep those because I will definitely find a use for them. I don't have to use them. Look at this. I just think maybe one more bit of that. So all I need to do with these, I'm not going to be turning the edges under as I go. I'm going to turn all of the edges under first and just kind of finger press them. I think this is probably the only time I'd think about bothering to pin, to be honest, because I want them to end up kind of exactly where I want them. So my last line of stitching stopped there. I'm due to go around this way now, but what I'll do is join this new piece in there and then carry on and follow the shape of this square now until I'm completely finished, and then this bit will go over the top. So I need to trim this one a little bit, and this will just be a little sort of quite a narrow strip by the time I've turned all the ends under as well. But I just think I just like that bit of wordage there. It's nice. Very nearly done. And what I do with these, I could easily get my machine out and quickly stitch the two pieces together into a bag, but I kind of feel like I've been hand stitching all the way along. I don't want to get my machine out now, so I've been just hand stitching them with a little overstitch. It's not difficult. I've got my friend Trina phoning up for a crafty chat this evening, where we sort of FaceTime each other. We sit in our respective craft rooms doing whatever we're doing, so I shall finish that off this evening. There we go. They'll be sort of like that, and then I'll come back and show you in the morning and get started on the art journal wrap. Oh, and I need to do my fuller on here. I need to decide which fabric or fabrics I'm going to use to make my fuller. I think probably it's going to be something bright pink. I just have a feeling. Quite looking forward to using a different colour thread. I'm getting bored with this one now. Probably use 2 strands throughout, I think.